with for you? What's so special about playoffs?
I think the games just get a little bit more intense. Obviously, there's something on the line that you can see so close, right? There's a trophy at the end of it, and who doesn't want to play in the big games? I think we've played enough of them to know like how special the feeling is to win, and I think when you have that in your mind, it makes the game a little more fun.
So, does the opponent being Calgary add something different?
Yeah, I think because we've played them so many times, especially in the playoffs in these bigger games, that you've seen the same faces a couple times over and over. You know that the game is going to be tight, it's going to be intense, and they've been a fierce rival of us for a couple of years for the whole existence of the CPL. So you know that when it gets to this point in the season, the playoffs, they also have the experience, and it makes it a good game.
So, kind of following that question, I know you guys played Calgary 4 times in the regular season, but for this being the first match of the round of the playoffs, does that change the intensity at all for you guys?
Yeah, probably a little bit. I think the games always against Calgary are a little more intense just because it's the two best teams in the CPL historically, and I think with it being the playoffs, both teams are genuinely in a chance to win. So then it becomes a little more intense that way, and you can see kind of the trophy at the end of the line. With the way the playoff format is for the last couple of years, this first game, first versus second, means you get a berth in the final. So it becomes that much more of a big game.
For you personally, you always just seem to take your game to another level when the playoffs comes around, whether it's scoring goals in the finals, scoring goals in the semifinals, just being that pest in the midfield that teams don't want to play against. Just what is it for you specifically that just gets you to raise your game to another level?
Yeah, I think it's honestly easier sometimes when the game is so intense and so big. You just kind of have to lock in. You don't really worry about anything else. You just kind of go into it. You're a little more excited. You have the nerves that give you that energy. So I think it becomes somewhat easier. Obviously, with experience, it helps as well. You can change those nerves more into excitement. But it becomes a time when you can just lock in on a game. You can kind of focus for the whole week, knowing that that's the most important thing at the end of the week. And yeah, it just becomes easier almost to lock in for those games.
And you talk about the intensity raising in playoffs and stuff like that, but what is it that makes the difference in a playoff game? Like in a regular season game, like you can't really, you talk about locking in, but in a playoff game, just what is that extra little factor that just decides games?
Yeah, I think everything raises. I think the crowd is a little more intense. I think it's louder. There's more people there. I think the game you can kind of see that it's like a do or die game. You're either winning and you're going to the next round, or in this case, you're losing and going into another chance. But you can kind of see the end point a lot sooner with these games, which makes it a little more intense. There's obviously a trophy only 2 games away with 2 wins. So with that in mind, I think you get those nerves a little more.
And just last question for me, but you talk about these knockout games. You guys are no stranger to knockout games, whether it's playoffs, whether it's CONCACAF, whether it's Canadian Championship. You guys just always seem to step up in those moments. Just what is it in this group that just seems to be that driving force and just stepping up in the bigger games?
Yeah, I think experience helps. I think now that we've done it, or the club has done it a lot of times, it helps. I think going back to what I said, everyone is just ready to just lock in. I think they realize it's a big game, and everyone kind of feels the same in terms of knowing that with 2 wins, you have a trophy. So with that, your mindset changes into being very focused. The whole training week becomes very focused, and then you know if you prepare well that you can go into these games and do well.
You got some talented players here that aren't going to be playing. It doesn't seem to bother you guys. I wonder how that happens.
Yeah, I think that's a testament to the group and training every day. I think we have a strong 20 plus players on the team that can come in and fill boots. I think that's also why we were so successful this year throughout an entire season. Of course, we're going to miss the quality that those players bring, but I think we have other players that can come in and they also have their own qualities that they can bring to the team. And yeah, we preach it from the day one that the team is going to win these games. It's not going to be the first 11 that's going to win the game always. So if you have that mindset as a team that every single person is important, I think in these games when you really need to rely on those 15 players for that game, that they'll show up.
I just have one more. Ali, just you mentioned earlier about like the on play out there in playoffs, the fan support kind of increases. So I'm just kind of wondering like how important is that fan support to you and like the atmosphere that it brings to the team?
Yeah, I think that's a big driving factor in a lot of the intensity of the game and the quality of the games at this time of the year. I think the fans really, they also feel it. They also see that there's an opportunity to win a trophy so soon after a couple games, and they bring their loud voice. And we got asked a question a couple days ago about why the fans are so important, and it's just the energy. When you have a lot of energy, a lot of noise in the crowd, the players just have that energy, and you're going to get better football when you have more people. It goes hand in hand, obviously. The better the football, the more fans, but the more fans that come to these games, the better the football becomes.